Ladies and gentlemen of the Action Army, what is going on? And welcome to another episode of Answers for Athletes. In today's video, I would like to talk to you about how to properly taper your training, taper your programming so that you can jump as high as humanly possible. This is so that you can hit new PRs, maybe get that first dunk that you've been looking for. Optimize, maximize your performance by using tapering in your programming. That is exactly what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into it, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your question down below if you want me to answer your question in a video just like this. And there's a link down below in the pinned comment and the description of this video that has access to my advanced training programs. If you would like to take all of the guesswork out of your training and you would like me, a professional strength and conditioning coach, a professional sports performance trainer, to set up your sets, your reps, your exercises, regressions and progressions, your phases, your periodization, so that you can jump as high as humanly possible, then click that link, check out my vertical jump programs or my customized vertical jump coaching. But okay, let's get into it. So this morning, I was listening to the Perform podcast by Dr. Andy Galpin. I actually lied. I was listening to a podcast clip from his podcast, Perform. I 100% highly recommend that you listen to Dr. Andy Galpin. His podcast, Perform, is excellent, although I will say there's a ton of stuff when it comes to athletes and performance, but there's also a ton of stuff when it comes to general fitness. And I am not so interested in the general fitness stuff. There's certain books that I've read in the past, like one that I'm staring at right now, The Science and Practice of Strength Training. I don't know why I looked at that like I didn't already know the name of that book, but that book talks a lot about how to train elderly people. And bro, no offense, I love you, Grandma, but I don't care. I want to jump as high as humanly possible. That is what I care about. So I was listening to his podcast, and he was talking about a study that he participated in back in the day when he was, I think he was a grad student. I don't really know, but it wasn't his study, but he was part of it. He was helping with it. And they were researching tapering with college athletes who are in season, which is great because it's hard to get in season college athletes to actually let you do studies. And they did the muscle biopsies. They did the whole nine. And here's what they found. What they found is absolutely it's rainbows and unicorns and sunshine. It's excellent for us. It is such good news for us. So first off, just very quickly as a just to set the tone, just to set a baseline, for lack of a better term, let's talk about fitness versus fatigue very quickly. So fitness, your strength, your power, your speed, velocity, your skill, this stuff doesn't change as quickly. It takes time for the body to make adaptations, of course. So whether you feel really good on a good day, really bad on a bad day, sometimes you jump high, sometimes you're jumping low. Most of the time, it is not due to your fitness. It is not due to your strength qualities. It is due to fatigue. So fitness, all of your physical qualities, these are pretty stable. They stay the same. They go up slowly. They go down slowly. But fatigue, it's very unstable. It is very easy to have a really bad day because you're super fatigued, or a really good day because you're super fresh. Like fatigue is more unstable. So I just want you to understand that as a general baseline. So for me, what I do normally, as most of you know, is a 4 to 6 week volume phase where I crush myself, I crush my athletes, and then I have a 4-week back off phase. And in my volume phase, it's 100% intensity, 100% volume. We're crushing the body, stressing the body so that we force adaptations. In my back off phase, it's 100% intensity, 50% volume, 40 to 60 most of the time, percent volume. The difference between a back off and a taper is, and I kind of made up the term back off, but back off is just we go straight from 100% volume to 50% volume. In a taper, you might do 100% volume in your volume phases, yeah. And then, week 1 of your taper, you might do 80%. And then week 2 of your taper, you might do 65%. And then week 3, it might be 50%. So a taper is decreasing volume slowly week by week. A back off, which I like I said, I kind of made this up. We just go straight to low volume, high intensity. But here, let's get into the juicy stuff. So in-season college athletes, they did a 3-week taper. So they went from 100%, then they went to 73% volume, and then they went to 50% volume. So they ended up at 50% volume, but they went 100%, 73%, 50%. They did not see any reduction in their fitness or their physical qualities. They saw no reduction in their power, their strength, their speed, etc. They saw, by tapering, by the end of the 3-week taper, they saw a 7% increase in fast twitch muscle fiber size, a 10% increase in single fiber force production, velocity increased 3 to 4%, overall power increased 10%. Like, bro, if that right there doesn't convince you to taper your training so that by the end of that taper or by the end of that back off, you're jumping as high as possible, like that is the difference between CNS fatigue and having the same results in your training. That is the difference between seeing new PRs. You have to taper your training after a really hard block of training, or do a back off after a really hard block of training. Couple more notes that he was talking about. Fast twitch fibers are hyper responsive to tapering. He said a taper should be 2 to 21 days. Right? So a back off, I normally have 2 to 4 weeks of a back off. The reason I do that, so sometimes, not very often, but sometimes I will push my back off phases more than 4 weeks. So 5 weeks, 6 weeks. This is only if an athlete that I never do this in my program. So if you get one of my programs, you won't see a 6-week back off. But for certain athletes that I coach online or in person, if they continue to hit PRs during their back off, then we're going to keep backing off until we see, okay, we're back. We're kind of at our baseline now. We're not hitting any more PRs. Then we hit another volume phase, stress the body more, break down the body so that we can build it back up, force that adaptation once again. But Dr. Andy Galpin, who is a lot more intelligent than I am, says 2 to 21 days is likely best for a taper. And obviously 3 weeks, 21 days is what they did for this study. Intensity is maintained or even slightly elevated. So that is why I always, in my back off phases, I don't decrease intensity. You have to keep intensity high, decrease the volume, the total fatigue, the total volume, but keep that intensity high. So that's another thing. Intensity is maintained or even slightly elevated. Then we got frequency stays the same. This is very important because so my main workout days in all of my programs and for most of my athletes that I train, our main workout days are 3 days a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever you want to set it up as, but mainly 3 days a week. And Dr. Andy Galpin was talking about how if you decrease the frequency, like if you go from 5 days a week down to 3 or 2 days a week, you can start to feel sluggish and slow. And I have personally noticed that with my own jump sessions, even sometimes when I jump on a Friday, I will feel really good. I'll be jumping pretty high. But then I take the weekend to rest, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes I come in on Monday and I feel like my central nervous system is not primed at all. I cannot jump very high. I see this with my high school basketball players, mainly during Christmas break. Like you can tell some of them have just not touched a basketball during Christmas break because they come back, their handle's not there, their shot is off. So skill actually diminishes more quickly. You get much more rusty and sluggish and slow with skill-based aspects or sports than other things. But frequency stays the same. Maybe, he said, maybe a slight decrease. Like if you're doing 2 a days and you have 10 sessions per week, maybe decrease that to 8. Or if you have 5 sessions, maybe decrease that to 4. But he likes frequency to stay the same. So if you always train 5 sessions a week, train 5. If you always do 3 main workouts a week, do 3. And then what he said is by tapering properly and doing everything that we just talked about, you can see a 3 to 6% enhancement in performance. 3 to 6% enhancement in performance. And some of you might be thinking, well, that's not a lot at all. It's like 3 to 6%. I'm barely going to be jumping higher. He gives the example of something that matters a lot, like the Olympic trials or the Olympics, in where a 3 to 6% difference is literally from you getting first place to not even making the cut. Like, it's that important. Like the percentages at high level competition are so minuscule. Like, if you're running a race, like the times, like sometimes it's milliseconds. Like 3 to 6% can matter a lot. Or that could be the difference between you hitting a PR and not hitting a PR. Getting your first dunk or not getting your first dunk, grabbing the rim or not, touching the rim or not. So 3 to 6% each time that you taper, like, that's going to make a big difference. Let's see, what else does he say? He says that some coaches like to crush their athletes leading into a taper, which we don't do with my high school team, but 100% when I am the head coach. Right now I'm the JV coach, so I'm not calling all the shots, but 100% before we go into Christmas break, I will be destroying those kids. Like, we're going to be running, we're going to be lifting way harder. Like, I'm going to increase the volume, increase the intensity, because I know they're going to go on Christmas break. They got tons of time to recover. They're young. They're probably going to be eating more. They're going to be at home resting more. They're going to be sleeping in. Like, they have a ton more time for recovery. So before we have that break for Christmas, when I'm the head coach, future basketball players that play for me, you're in luck because it's going to be good for performance, but you're not in luck because it's going to suck. And then last note, he said, if you ain't training hard, don't taper. Obviously, like, if you're not going hard in the gym, there's nothing to taper from. If your training is not super high intensity, high volume, there's nothing to taper from. There's nothing to back off from. There's nothing to deload from. You have to earn your deload. You got to earn your salt. You got to earn your back off, earn your taper, earn your food, earn your sleep. Like, bro, if you ain't working hard, you don't get to sleep. Stay up. If you ain't working hard, you don't get to eat. No work, no food. If you ain't training hard, you don't get to taper. But anyways, I listened to this podcast and I understood a back off. I understood a taper. I've looked into this tons of times before, but it's easy with something like a deload or a back off or a taper. It's easy as a coach to say, I already know all that. But, like, bro, we don't know everything. Like, we don't know everything. You always have to be brushing up. New research is coming out, even though this isn't new, but always keep up on your knowledge. But anyways, that is how to properly do a taper so that you can see PRs jump as high as possible, increase your performance, peak your vertical jump at a certain point. Good for, same thing, good for like basketball players who are coming up to the playoffs or the championship. Taper and you'll have better performance. So that is it for this video. Like this video if you like it, subscribe to the channel, leave your question down below, and click that link, get one of my programs, and I will take you to the next level. But I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.